recently,
Uh-huh.
this is the fun part, right, of our conversation.
Yeah, just a little bit of fun.
So recently, Channing Crowder, who is he a current NFL player?
No, he's an ex-NFL player.
Ex-NFL player, called Russell Wilson, who is a current NFL player, as a quarterback, called him a square, and said that his wife, who is Ciara, who is a, what do you want to call it, R&B hip hop performer, very popular maybe in the early 2000s. My goodies, my goodies, my goodies, oh, my goodies, right? Is only with Russell Wilson because he's kind of like a come up for her. And that she's really, you know, in comparison, Russell Wilson, maybe in comparison to Ciara had a child with rapper Future out of Atlanta, you know, he's like a cornball. So I mean, people have been talking about it and everything like that, but Dame wanted to bring this up. Come on, Dame. Let me.
Well, I just want to talk about it from, you know, I like to look at things from a different angle. And I think one of the things that has happened is people have taken the conversation of Russell Westbrook being called corny and juxtaposing that against Future, who was actually corny.
Did I say Russell Wilson? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's Russell Wilson.
Wilson.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the Lakers because they suck right now.
Oh yeah, you're on this like Lakers fan thing, right? Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lakers, y'all suck this year.
Yeah, we suck this year. But Russell Wilson being called corny, they juxtapose it against Future. And I said, well, the funny thing is, and where I think some people get it wrong, not all, but some people get it wrong. I said the people who follow sports knew that Russell Wilson was kind of square pre-Ciara, like very square, you know, like didn't dress, he wasn't fly, he didn't really have a swag. One thing I've seen Ciara upgrade, you know, he was the type of brother, like the black dude who would go to Supercuts. Like those are the kind of cuts he had, you know. He had that different strokes black sitcom from the 80s edge. You know what I'm saying? Where they just didn't, you know, you know what I'm saying? But he would wear like Hawaiian shirts and dad jeans with white New Balance. Like black people we don't wear white New Balance, and we gonna wear white New Balance. Them the Air Dad Cop shoes. You know what I mean? Damn. so people who knew Russell pre-Ciara understand when we say corny. One, we're not connecting that to the love of his wife and him taking care of his kids. Like, we're not saying that he was corny because he loves his wife. Be like, no, that's what we're saying. Was he was corny in the old school neighborhood sense, like, oh, he dressed like a cornball, like he ain't fly, he ain't got no swag. That's it. But I think people wanted to take it farther to the other place. Well, y'all call him corny because he love on his wife. No, stop that. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying he corny because like, and we're not saying that, oh, he's corny and Future is fresh. Like, no, because when most sports fans never juxtapose it against Future. That was something we said based on just him and the Hawaiian shirts and the dad jeans. You know what I mean? Like he just, you know, and if you look at how he dresses now, his swagger now, and his swagger pre-Ciara, it's way different.
Well, I mean, I don't know the whole conversation in earnest. But when you are with someone, you know, you're married, right?
Yeah.
I'm married. When you are with someone, that person upgrades you in a whole lot of ways,
point?
Right?
Otherwise, what's the point?
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And I know many sisters
upgraded y'all, you know, man,
who had to hold a brother down and scrub him really good, right? I mean, that's not with all women, but there was an element of sophistication that brought, and at the same time, I remember I'm coming up to Newark, you know, and Dwayne telling me, you can't smile to everybody, Kaya. People, that's a sign of weakness, right? So educating me about, you know, what the behaviors in the streets and the etiquettes, you know, the hood etiquettes in a whole other city, right? And so that's the compliment of being in a relationship, and that's a part of growing old together. And also, I mean, I don't know what the whole thing is. And I know people had different interpretations of what went on. But, you know, I have a sister who jokingly calls herself corny, right? And she's corny, right? She's like, man, there are things, is she fully corny? You don't know, there are aspects about her that are corny. You cannot say that Russell Wilson's adeptness in terms of what he does in football is corny at all, right? So you said something though, Dane, when you were talking about square equals good, and that is very dangerous. Well, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, because
Talk about that.
Because square don't always equal good, or a lot of guys like to say, because this conversation has also opened up the thing where a lot of guys like to feel like they're Russell Wilson and being overlooked. Right. And sometimes they feel like, well, I'm a nice guy and chicks over. I'm like, well, nice ain't the only trait. Like I think people need to realize nice is not actually a personality trait. You understand what I'm saying? And nice can come. You could be nice and selfish. You could be nice and a terrible mate. You could be nice and you could be terrible in bed. You could be, you know what I'm saying? So exactly. So you can't think, oh, I'm nice and that should be enough for a woman to want to take on me and my bullshit just because I'm nice. And of course, we know the stories of, the nice guy got passed up for the hood dude and but I'm not talking about that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about the guy who thinks he's the good guy and he's probably really not. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably just not outwardly terrible. Or, because you can even be a nice guy and be boring as hell. A woman don't want a boring ass man. You understand what I'm saying? So there's things that come up in this conversation that are a bit nuanced. And it's funny because so many people got mad when he said, and Channing Crowder, if you watch The Pivot, because I watch The Pivot regularly, one, he's the jokester of the panel. So it's funny when you see something taken out of context to like people who don't watch the show. When you like, well, if you watch the show, you would know Channing Crowder is one, a jokester, and he's not always the most articulate when it comes to making a point. But a lot of times, like, us hood dudes in a barbershop, when people talk a certain way, you kind of get the point.
Well, I mean, we come from a tradition of when you could take like a one-liner or a joke and it has so much meaning, but culturally you have to know what it is to understand it.
And there it is.
So I mean, I don't know who I've never heard of Channing Crowder. I'm gonna be honest, nor I don't think I've ever heard him speak. This is all just me, reading. So I totally get what you're saying. I think also nice is situational too, because 100%. People are not nice all the time, right?
Right. I mean, I know some people who are nice in their lives and terrible to their mates. You know what I mean? Like, everybody else think they're nice, but they're evil to their mates. You understand what I'm saying? So that's one thing. Also, back to talking about Channing Crowder, like, because he said, can I talk to my wife about this? She was like, him saying that she's probably with him because of his bread. She was like, and that's not to say, I don't think he was saying she's a gold digger, but a corny guy like Russell Wilson would not have access to a Ciara without bread. Like your regular corny guy. The regular corny guy is not getting that access to Ciara without that bread. And that's just the truth of the matter. You know what I mean? Because of where she is and where he is.
Well, I mean, if you take marriages, like high-powered marriages, if you take even the blue bloods of England, they don't marry for love. They marry for money and power.
Yeah.
So why is it that when somebody who is considered not, like a Ciara is called a gold digger, but the Queen of England can have her face on all of the currency or half of the currency of the world, but not be considered from a family of gold diggers who even practice incest in order to keep their wealth within the family structure?
Say that. And also, I even think, like, I told somebody, I said, and after you deal with Bow Wow, 50 Cent, and Future, corny stability probably looks hella good.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Like, exactly.
And as you get, and we all know, as you get older, your priorities on what are important to you change in regards to what you look for in your mate and in a relationship. And I think she had just got to that point where her priorities and what she was looking for and what she needed, kind of was changing. I also think it was the same for Russell, because, he had I think it was his ex-wife. She had a white ex-wife who was, she was bland like him. So that's where all his, his chicken ain't had no seasoning salt. So Ciara came in and put some seasoning salt on the chicken. You understand what I'm saying? So,
well, I mean, we don't even talk about, we don't even talk about, during draft day or, around the sports.
I know you see it. I know you see it.
We see it. There's a plethora of women, and in particular, there's a plethora of women, in particularly, white women, who position themselves and situate themselves, to be in the proximity
and calculated.
And
Very. It's calculated. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we've seen it too many times at too many draft parties, trying to get in the camera, trying to get in front of the mama, trying to get in front of the daddy to get, we've seen it. Like, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. There was literally one draft where the black mom had to move her, like, yo, this ain't your moment. This is his moment. Like,
right.
And it went viral because all the other black moms was like, yep, I know exactly what that is.
Because it has become a part of a cultural phenomenon, which we could talk about. There was this article that came out, a black man wrote it, that said why black women need to marry more white men.
Oh, that trash.
Okay. I'm not, okay. So the politics of mating, I'm not going to get all deep into it, but I just want to say this, and specifically we're talking about sports, and just when people reach a certain, what they call it, tax bracket or a social status, who is considered eligible or dateable for them. And it's really interesting that somebody like Ciara, who was in her career, for the most part, she had some level of success. She's beautiful, she's athletic, she presents to be an amenable person, why isn't she considered of,
like, why is she considered a catch as well?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is she considered somebody who was malicious and getting with him, getting with Russell Wilson just for money? And if she was, why is that a bad thing?
Right. And that's the funny thing, when we talk about this conversation, because I tell people when we have this conversation, I said the funny thing is, I do think she truly, truly loves him, and he truly loves her. Like the interactions I've seen, and the way they talk to each other, and when I've seen them public, like not just the way they praise each other publicly, but when I see them like on talk shows talk about each other, there's something very genuine about the way they talk about each other and the way they discuss each other that you don't see in a lot of these Hollywood relationships, right? They're
having babies left and right. I mean, that's an indicator right there. You love them enough to lay down, and you know what I'm saying? So
so I do think that they really, really love each other. And it's interesting that, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know somebody in the comments of one of my posts about this was like, oh, the jump off, she got to settle down. I said the funny thing is, people call her jump off, but all the things we know her for in her romantic life have been relationships, and none like short term. Like, we knew about her relationship with Bow Wow, we knew about her relationship with 50, her relationship with Future, but they were all relationships. It wasn't like she was just jumping from dude to dude. These were all like 1 to 2 year, 3 year, relationships, but she gets called a jump off. So it's just interesting that the lens that some men view women in, period, that's just the way they see it, right? But the flip side of that also is, to me, I think sometimes
but a Kim Kardashian is not considered a jump off.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, who married Kanye West. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But no, you're right. But that's what I mean. Like, I think sometimes there is an unfair lens that we put Black women in when it comes to their public life relationships, right? That we don't, like you said, when you talk about a Kim Kardashian or all her sisters, or even all those other women who have 5 and 6 husbands that are white, that we don't look at them through that same lens as we look at Black women. But again, I said, to me, I think they both upgraded each other, because I think she unlocked something culturally that Russell hadn't really been exposed to, which to me, I think lent to what we call his corniness, right? I think she exposed him to some things and unlocked some shit in the Black culture to him that was able to bring forth that, natural coolness that a lot of Black men have, you know what I mean? And because I think that I think he's a great Black man. And my cousin said, he said, well, as corny as he is, to be able to lead 60 men on a football field, there has to be some kind of lion in there. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. And he shows himself to be a multi-dimensional being, which is very difficult for a Black man to be. On or off, or in front or behind a 100%, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So on one hand being this very fierce, displaying this leadership in this gridiron, this very physical sport, maintaining physicality, and also all of the preparation and
And being
meetings
at the
and
top
things
of the
like
game
that,
too.
and
Yeah, because
being
he's one of
still
the top
for
for
years
years.
now,
One of
right?
the top guys for years. Yeah.
And then switch that off, and then be gentle, kind, loving, being kissy poo,
Yep.
photographs with his wife.
And I think that's the amazing thing. And I think that's the thing that people think that we call corny, and it's not. You know what I mean? Like no, that's not the thing we call corny, because I think those things that he does as a man, as a husband, and the way he looks, and to me really protects his wife. To me, those things are amazing.
And publicly celebrates his son from, I'm saying his stepson, right?
Yeah,
and
treat him as his own.
Exactly. Does not separate any of that. It's very
all amazing. Yeah. So I think people conflate the conversation. That's why I say I don't want people to continue to conflate this conversation that, like, if you be like, yo, Russell was corny before he got Ciara, you just saying that because he's faithful to his woman. No, you projected some other shit. You just saying, oh, you rather he be Future? No, because I'm not comparing him to Future, because to me, Future doesn't even hold a candle to Russell Wilson as the man. You know what I mean? Like that he don't even come into the picture. I'm talking about just independently what we know and what I thought of Russell Wilson pre-Ciara. And now that you can see the proof, and you're putting for yourself how fly he is post-Ciara. His suits fit different. You know what I mean? His haircuts are different and better. His swag, he got a much more hipper swag. And I don't want people to think that when you say square, because people's like, just because he ain't hood don't mean he's square. I never thought that, like you thought that. I never thought that.
Right.
Because we had a bunch of square dudes in the hood.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't know what hood you grew up in, but okay.
We had a bunch of square dudes in the hood, and they still hood, and they probably would still whoop your ass.
On site.
You know what I'm saying?
On site, like that's a weirdo, but weirdo beat up Johnny last week. Okay.
Exactly. So that's why I said, well, like you said, I was like, I don't know what neighborhood y'all from. I said, but in my neighborhood, there was a lot of square dudes. We just like, they not into the whole rigmarole. They not into all the usual shenanigans that hood dudes are into, but they are still from the hood. They will still hold their own. They still are men in their own right. So I just wanted to kind of talk about the nuance of that whole conversation, because I felt like people was conflating a whole lot of things and basically trying to make it say, like, if you say he corny, you saying it because he take care of his kids and he take care of his wife and his family. And that's 100% not the case.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Arc Republic. If you like what you see and you like what you hear, you can actually keep this mothership going. How? You can make a tax-deductible donation in several ways. One, Cash App us at Arc Republic Media. And you can also go on our website, arcrepublic.com/donate. As well, you can also donate to our fiscal sponsor and our sister organization at Black Farmers Index, that is Cash App, or also go onto their website, blackfarmersindex.com. We are two Black women-owned media organizations who share our profits so folk can thrive.
But I want to add just a couple of thoughts in terms of you laying this out. I think one of the things that, rings true, or rings for me, not true, but it comes up is that for some reason, the presentation of Black man and woman loving up on each other publicly, regularly, is nauseating for a lot of people. It has become an uncomfortable space for some folk, right? I think that should be acknowledged. How many Black couples do you see who have been like a Ciara and Russell for years?
Right.
I don't know many. I don't know.
It's not many.
So it provides, we talk about, how we want to see this world where Black women are protected and celebrated. So it provides, I've been saying template a lot, but it provides a template against this reality TV, you know what I'm saying? This trap image, that we have, right? And I think because it is presented in so far, and thank goodness for social media, this is one of the rare times I'm saying that, is because they control their narrative, or their publicists, or whatever it is you want to say.
Right.
But they don't have to wait for a commercial or some TV show in order to do it. They're on IG and TikTok and doing dance videos and all this, things like that. Honestly, I think Ciara's like that. Honestly, I think Ciara was the good girl who chose kind of like the edgy guy. You know what I'm saying?
I think so too. 100%.
So, right.
100%.
So, so I think that image is nauseating and uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Well, because we know misery loves company, and to project that amount of love, if you're not getting it, it's gonna piss you off. Let's just be real.
Right.
The people who piss off to me are the people who are unhappy. I think the people who are in love, or even the people who are in love with love, are okay with seeing that image. You understand what I'm saying? Because there was a post the other day where I posted on my Facebook where a young lady was talking about, she was like, I still have a crush on my husband. And people are like, well, y'all married, duh. She's like, no. A lot of people don't feel this way about their mate. She's like, I still look at him, I still get butterflies, that. I still feel like I really still have a crush on my husband. And I was like, you know what? That's really dope.
That is very dope. And a lot of people don't talk about that. And I want to emphasize, in this era of what they call the manosphere, and a lot of kind of like this rise of men, Black men, particular in relationships, and reclaiming back their nuts, or whatever it is that they're talking about. This type of relationship and its presentation is uncomfortable. But I also
I just want to say it's uncomfortable too, also because you think about it, and it's something I've been thinking about lately. It's an elevated Black masculinity, and people don't. It's, you know what I mean. It's not the usual Black machismo masculinity. It's kind of an elevated, like you said. He's been able to show himself as a complex man, been able to show himself from different facades. He's been able to show himself like, yeah, you can't use that he's soft, because you see that shit he do on the field, and you see that his get down is real, and that he's a hard worker. You know what I mean? So there's an elevated masculinity to it that I think it probably will make some people sick, because it's not the usual suspect, right? It's not the cussing your girl out or trying to look,
or calling her a B, or
calling her a B. Yeah. It's none of those things. So when you see an elevated masculinity on top of, like, with an elevated kind of love and an elevated relationship, I think if you're not ready for that yourself, or you're not okay with that, or you haven't seen, like me and you have been lucky, right? Like, we've seen that, like, with our parents. I've seen it with my grandparents. Like, I've seen like that. To me, I've seen what it really looks like to protect the Black woman. I've seen what it really looks like to protect the Black family. And I've seen and it's funny because it's not loud as people think it is.
Exactly. It's those little things. I could talk about the romance that I've seen, between my parents, for many years. Now, of course, we know with romance, there's always difficult times, but it's like seeing how they work out of it. How they negotiate
how
space,
they evolve,
how they talk about money, like, seeing all these, things. When you don't see that, the response can be, when you see it, can be a rejection, right? Because you have it then, how people say, when they saw something violent, it triggered me. Well, sometimes when you see something that is loving and peaceful, it triggers. Course.
Yes,
it triggers you too.
100%.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
And also, let me just interject this. I said this in the text when we were talking about, another thing last week. I said it is always very dangerous when we kind of measure who we are and how we behave through the lens of celebrities. It is always dangerous. Let me say that.
Yes.
Let me start with that, because they have the money,
means, the resources.
Yeah. They have the smoke and mirrors that we do not have, we will never have. Right? Yeah. So let me just say that. With that being said, I want to kind of give people an idea, or kind of trace this whole idea of the cornball, and the cornball winning the girl. I think a lot of people don't kind of talk about this. This is starting to kind of emerge in the late 70s and 80s. Like, you remember the Revenge of the Nerds? Yeah. This is like dating this back, right? So Revenge of the Nerds is kind of like this storyline in Hollywood, where the first it started with the nerd, how the nerd gets the girl, and how the nerd saves the day. Well, this is juxtaposed against Black exploitation Black men who were these cool ass, penis slinging brothers on the block that got everybody, your mama, your grandmama, the white women, the Black women, everybody. So it was this cool pose. So, it was, and also it's a response to, in my opinion, this kind of like Rambo projection.
Right,
So
right.
so this rise of the nerd creates this whole other storyline of those men who don't fit in that mainstream masculinity also have power, because these are the ones that are really pulling the strings. These are the bankers. These are the you know the lawmakers, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, who, and gradually it then, in my opinion, it then, and me looking at media, it kind of encapsulates, like the guy that maybe wasn't in sports, or the guy that wasn't a musician, or the guy that didn't have necessarily a skill, was just like a average Joe nobody, right? So it's coming out of, honestly, in my opinion, this idea that media projects this quote unquote cornball, right? And so, but the cornball is a white man that wins in the movies. It's not it's not the weirdo black guy. I mean, even though like Atlanta right now, the series
was like the first, right? Atlanta.
There might have been some couple, but like in terms of a full series of these, you have supposedly this very hyper masculine rap dude, and this like really, you don't know who he is, this non-binary black dude. He's very non-binary this season. And then you have Glover, who is
the blur, like the black nerd,
the blur, and trying to find his way, but he can get a little thuggish, but he's a little thinker, and he's trying to figure out his baby mama situation, so media is kind of like also kind of projecting what is considered acceptable and not, and just kind of be mindful of that when we're talking about like what's corny, blah blah blah, because up until, I would say, very recently, and then also what music plays and how Black men being on the block and studio game, all this stuff is relatively recent as being the earmark of Black man. And this is very recent. Like my dad was nothing like that, right? Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's, and men in the community, there were quite a few men in the community that were like my father, or, worked, and you know what I'm saying? And whatever. So this is like really recent. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in this conversation. That we're talking about. So what are your last thoughts for this, my brother? Because this is your conversation.
Well, since we ended the day, my last thoughts are, if you can be a Russell Wilson and take care of your family and show all the facades of your elevated masculinity and your Blackness, please do so, and do it publicly for the world to see, because we need more of that. We need more Black men showing what it's like to love on your woman, and more Black men showing what it's like to protect your woman, no matter what. And like I said, protecting your family, protecting your woman, or being masculine even, isn't always loud. And I think Russell Wilson was able to show us that, and I commend him for that. And I think it's dope. And I just want us to continue to educate the conversations to elevate Black manhood.
Well said. Thank you so much, Dame. I'll be talking to you again in these discussion streets. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Let's embark on the Arc Republic to hear current news that's published. More than gossip and chatter, covering current affairs that matter. We talk issues with professional views, all keeping you in queue. We wanted a higher vibe for these days and times, to free the voices and minds, reporting the sign of the times, so all can build. Let's shine, yeah.